Okay, so last night's Oscars were fun, and I put away my work. I have to tell you, I should have been working on some of the preparation for today's episodes on the Screwtape Letters, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I put aside my work last night so that I could watch the Oscars. And I have to tell you, there were just a couple of things that I really, really liked. Did you see it at all? Did you see it
No,
at
I
all?
didn't. That used to be a big thing for me when I lived out in San Francisco. There
Mm-hmm.
was a charity organization that I took part in called Academy of Friends.
Okay.
They're like the Academy Awards, Academy of Friends. It started as a bunch of friends years ago,
Mm-hmm.
like early or mid '80s, um, that got together to watch the Academy Awards.
Mm-hmm.
And the party grew and grew rapidly that it got to a point where they were charging their
Oh,
friends to come watch it because it was
okay.
catered and it was black, it was a red carpet event, and it grew so much that it became a 501 charity whatever type of
Wow.
organization. And
501c3 nonprofit.
what
Mm-hmm.
happened was something one of those types, yeah. And what it did was it grew so much that they actually rented a space to have the event. And starting at the end of the summer, there was a monthly get together
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that was like a cocktail party warm up for the big one.
Yeah.
And there were like raffles, like Mercedes Benz raffled off a Mercedes
Wow.
and gave away a Mercedes.
Wow.
And there was like silent auctions at the big thing and whatever else. Point being, they raised so much money, and as you can probably guess, this was a gay community thing. Um,
Wow.
they raised so much money that they, as that nonprofit, they helped supply HIV nonprofits with additional money.
Wow.
So they were a charity for the charities.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you were suffering with HIV and needed treatment, they didn't give you money. They gave
Mm-hmm.
whoever was helping you the money. That's how much money they raised.
Wow. Wow.
And it was in like the millions every year.
But
So I'm
since
used to seeing
mm-hmm.
the whole, yeah, it's a big deal and yada 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 and whatever else. But I just never got into the types of movies that usually win. Like Oppenheimer. I mean, I would be
Okay.
more into that one because of its historic preference,
Yeah.
but I couldn't tell you who won other years. Um,
Okay.
just I'm into more adventure type movies or suspense thrillers that just
Yeah.
probably wouldn't get, or that, or a hockey game, which definitely would not get an Oscar nomination.
Yeah,
So
you're right. You're right. Right. Now, have you watched before we get anywhere, I just have to know what your background is. Have you watched Barbie?
I have not seen Barbie.
Oh my
My
god.
parents just saw Oppenheimer last week.
Yeah. Have you?
Um, I have not yet, but I heard that Robert Downey Jr. won. Uh,
Yes.
I guess was he in that, and was he a supporting? Did
Yes.
he get a supporting
Yes.
nod? Or
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yes,
I'm
he won.
I'm real happy to hear that because I followed him through whatever
Oh.
it was, not the Breakfast Club, but some of his earlier punk kid type movies, and the life that it got him into,
Mhm.
and just
Me
how he
too.
recovered from all of that, and literally recovered from all of that.
Mhm.
I just think it's fascinating and amazing, and it really shows what you can do if you want out, if you really
Yep.
want out.
Yep.
But also that it's a lot more convincing for me that addiction, I think, really is a type of chemical dependency disease,
Exactly.
or
Yep.
like an allergy,
Yep.
um, as opposed to a bad behavior.
Well, they
Because then
in
his
the end.
son was tied up in the same type of life. And he said to the same judge who sentenced him, this kid couldn't be in better hands.
Wow.
And the judge turned him over to his dad, and they're both sober to this day.
Yeah. Well, they say in the industry, in the recovery industry, that addictions like that are really secondary to psychological mental health issues, and that addictions become the use of drugs and alcohol, for example, become the way to cope with the issues
Yeah.
involved, surrounding mental health. And I fully believe that. I had a discussion
Right.
yesterday with I was visiting my family, whose daughter is, pardon me, married to a man who is currently in the throes of addiction. And we had that discussion yesterday. And my brother finally asked me, he's not going to listen to this show, so I feel comfortable talking about it. But he finally said yesterday, Jane, if you have some advice for us in terms of helping their daughter with this, with the situation and the relationships he's currently in. And my response was, he needs mental health. He needs mental health help. He needs antidepressants, because his use of alcohol is probably a way to combat the depression that he has. And furthermore,
Yeah.
we went into a memory, again, going back to what we talked about just a little bit ago, that when there's emotion tied to our memories, they don't go away. Well, I have a long-term memory of driving back from visiting someone who was, having issues, shall we say, and my son at the
Yeah.
time, I was driving, and he said to me at the time, which I shared with my brother yesterday, the 3 C's relative to addiction. You didn't cause it, you can't control it, and you can't cure it. So, again, I just suggested to my brother and sister-in-law that, this is not your issue. This doesn't belong to you. This belongs to the person, because you didn't cause it. You can't control it, and you can't cure it. And that's in the recovery industry. I'm not saying anything creative whatsoever. It's just what I've
No.
learned.
Right.
But I remember what I remember at the time was the relief, because I did feel part of the reason, that this person in my life was having difficulty, and, to be relieved of feeling totally responsible for that was important to me at that time. Anyway, talking about Robert Downey Jr., I wondered if you had seen Oppenheimer, and you said you haven't. Have you? And I would suppose then you
Not
haven't.
yet.
I haven't seen Poor Things. I haven't seen. Is it Killers of the Flower Moon? I haven't seen that one yet. I haven't seen.
Yeah.
I've seen Maestro, which was excellent, and I just feel that, is it Bradley Cooper? He was up for an Oscar, and he did such a superb job. I just felt kind of bad for him, but happy for the Irish guy who won. Killian, I believe his name is Killian Murphy, I think his name is. But
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it was, it was
It's
fun.
he.
I
He would have
watched
been in
Paul and I
Oppenheimer.
watched. Pardon me. Yes, he was in Oppenheimer. Paul and
Yeah,
I
he was in
watched
Oppenheimer. Yeah.
American.
Yeah.
Paul and I watched American Fiction with Jeff. Eh, with Jeff. Come on, Wright, Jeffrey Wright. Just this weekend, which was really interesting. It was really a fun film, but not one that you would perhaps like, because it was about an author, Black author, who wrote serious books and was disgusted that the ones that got the attention
Oh,
and the money and the
Jeffrey.
film crews, the film treatments were
Yeah.
pulp type of writing. And so he writes one and pretends he is a rapper type guy, and he ends up winning awards, and he ends up with the film treatment and lots of money and so forth, and he's just totally disgusted. But it was a fun film. I totally enjoyed it. But my favorite parts of the Oscar awards were, what's his name, John, Sema, I can't remember. He's a wrestler. When he supposedly
Cena.
Jimmy Kimmel
John Cena.
announces that a bunch of years ago, some streaker visited the Academy Awards, and he decides that the award for costume design should be someone who streaks the Academy Awards. So what's his name comes out, looking totally nude, covered only by the envelope in the strategic parts, right? It's so funny the way he shuffles across the stage. And I mean, this is a hunk. And that was kind of fun to watch, but he shuffles across the stage and then he says, I can't read the winner because the envelope is covering the strategic parts. And so there is a break. Jimmy Kimmel comes out. And then when John Cena comes out again, he is draped in this really funny looking costume. Anyway, that was one of my favorite parts. Another one of my favorite parts was Billie Eilish singing the song from Barbie. And the words to that particular song are just amazing. And that was really a touching part. And then a lot of people liked what's his name, Ken from Barbie, his singing of the song that has become such a hit from that particular.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
No, Ryan Gosling. Is that right?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, his number is really an amazing thing, and people loved that as well. But I think Jimmy Kimmel did a wonderful job. And another favorite part of the show was when Jimmy Kimmel reads, supposedly, I believe it was true, the review that Trump gave him about about his performance in the Academy Awards. And then he ends it by asking Trump, isn't this
past your jail time?
Yeah. Isn't this past your jail time? There you go. Yeah. I couldn't get the words quite right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I did see that.
Me up. That broke me up. That was great. It was great.
In fact, that concept of how I found out about that scene from the ceremony is one of the things we're going to probably talk about this coming Friday on the Lunchtime Happy Hour.
Oh.
I found it because a conservative talking head like me, who's down here in the Tampa Bay area, named Benny Johnson, tweets this thing. You know, he basically posted the clip of that moment at the Oscars.
Okay.
And he does it like this is supposed to be very positive for Donald Trump. And I'm like, dude,
really?
Did you watch this? Did you watch this first? Donald Trump looks like a total ass in this.
I know. Oh my God, that's amazing.
And another guy on LinkedIn, which is really pissing me off because LinkedIn is not supposed to be about politics. It's supposed to be about business networking.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, Kyle Reyes, who supposedly is a podcaster about law enforcement, but has become, he's conservative, he's a Christian, he's a patriot. He tells you he's all these things that he's not.
Mm-hmm.
And he's another Trumper. And he gets up and he posts, and this other guy, Hiram Figueroa, is like this executive from LinkedIn that is taking a political stance, on the platform, which is, at the workplace, probably not a good idea, but whatever. He reposts this Kyle Reyes guy who posted a rebuttal to one of Ronald Reagan's addresses back in the 80s. And the rebuttal was from then Delaware Senator Joe Biden.
Oh.
And he's like, holy, all capitals, period. Cow, all capitals, period. Maybe the Republicans should have just used this. Okay, so number one, you just admitted that the no-name senator from Alabama who
Mm-hmm.
tried to do her rebuttal sucked.
Mm-hmm. Did you
And number
watch it?
two,
Did you watch it?
oh my gosh, that was brutal. That thing that she did from her kitchen or whatever, that was
Did you
painful.
see? And did you see the Saturday Night Live piece?
No.
Scarlett,
Oh.
Scarlett, pardon me, Scarlett Johansson did a really good job. Anyway,
I got to go back and find that because that's
yeah,
Saturday Night Live doesn't miss.
yeah,
They don't miss.
no, it
Um,
was pretty good.
but we
Mm-hmm.
talked about that, and we talked about that on Friday's show, lunchtime happy hour, and even our conservative guy on the show was like, "What are they thinking? Who thought this was going to be a good idea?"
Yeah,
And the replay of Biden's rebuttal from the 80s, if you actually watch it, it's essentially the same speech he gave last Thursday night.
no kidding.
It's all about border security. It's all about fighting drugs. It's all
Wow.
about supporting the police. And I said, so what you're saying is Biden remains a member of the only party that has actually backed the blue.
Mm-hmm.
And I put actually in all capitals, period, back the blue, all capitals, period,
Mm-hmm.
to, play on his initial.
Right.
And that's the frustrating thing for me is that, with the conservative viewpoints and values that I have, I'm so sick of hearing Republicans saying and conservatives, whichever party you're in, saying how they back the blue. And then they want to go cutting the funding to the FBI, the IRS, and all these other federal law enforcement agencies that are doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's been
And
weaponized against
and
your buddy.
and supporting the insurrection and the policemen that were
Yeah.
brutalized during that. I mean, how can you do that? So, anyway, that was my summary of Oscar night. I really enjoyed it, and of course, I watch it because I like to watch what they wear. It's so fun for me to check out, the outfits that they wear to that particular one, those particular
Now,
shows. I just love
do
it.
you like crazy? Do you like Lady Gaga wearing a meat dress,
No, but I
or do
understand
you like
why she wears a
actually?
meat dress.
Yeah,
No, I don't. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I like the pretty stuff. I like the pretty stuff. Um,
Okay.
I like the pretty stuff. And let's see, I think it was, and the guy who played on This Is Us, the black guy. Anyway, his wife looked, her outfit or her dress was absolutely beautiful. Hers was my absolute favorite. So it was just
Okay.
flowy and ecru, very, 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 very sweet. So anyway, that's fun for me. And I wasn't able to make it home in time for the red carpet treatment, but it was recorded, so I got to see the entire thing and all the outfits that they wore. So it was good. I enjoyed it. So there. And I
How?
encourage you to watch some of those movies because they're really gripping. I my own
Yeah.
time, I watch a lot of crime shows, thrillers, all that kind of. John Wick is, is top of my list. Just
Really?
okay. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's I think we talked about this in one of our earliest episodes. They're like cathartic for me because my kids say, "Mom, how can you watch that stuff? It's so violent and all that. And it's like, I think
I
that's
know you
that's
said
our
you liked.
taste.
Yeah, I know you said you liked the crime
Yeah,
thriller
yeah,
drama, but I didn't think
I
John
do.
Wick would be on that. That's
Oh yeah, well,
wow.
that's
Um,
that's above and beyond. I like the dog. I really like the dog in John Wick. You know,
did you see the? Well, wait a minute. Which one was that?
well, the first
Was
one,
that the first one?
yeah,
That's where the dog dies, right?
yes, yes. But then there's
That's
another
essentially what
dog.
pisses him off. Is that yeah?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. And then there's another
Okay.
dog that accompanies him to the hotel, and
Okay.
yeah, and is cared for by the guy who is the host there, and
Yeah.
till
Yeah.
John Wick comes back. So it's good. It's good. It's good.
Did
This
you
might be.
get to start? Did you get to start the two podcasts that I thought you might like? Did you get to check them out at all yet?
No, I'm trying to think where they
One
might
was
have
about
gone.
killing JFK. Who
No.
killed JFK?
Did you send that to me
And
recently?
the other one was uh, probably back in like maybe January, like maybe the end of season one, our season one.
I'll have to go
I
back
think
and
is
look
when
for that.
we might
No,
have
I did
talked
not.
about it.
Where do you have them?
They're easy. I can.
Okay, send them to
I've
me
listened
again
to
and
them
I
on
will watch them.
Spotify.
Okay.
They're podcasts. They're audio only podcasts. So something good
Okay.
for like when you're in the kitchen or playing in the background, doing laundry, whatever.
Yep.
Um, the killing JFK or who killed JFK is produced by Soledad O'Brien from CNN.
Okay.
She has her own production company, and
Hmm.
she does it in conjunction with Rob Reiner, Meathead from All in the Family.
I remember. I remember. And I'm trying to think
We
whether
talked
I.
about before, and
Yes,
you,
yes, yes, yes. And I remember seeing him on TV promoting it. And I can't remember whether
yeah,
I actually,
yeah.
yeah, I don't think I committed the time to watch it, but I should. And I want to. Yes.
So there
Just
is
slipped
a
my mind.
video. There is a video um, that I think is him and Soledad O'Brien and like an abbreviated version of the entire podcast.
Hmm.
But the entire podcast is like 10 or 12 episodes, and
Wow.
it's each one is at least a half an hour long, probably about 40 minutes long.
Okay.
And it's topical, meaning that like the first episode is, who is Lee Harvey Oswald?
Okay.
And they give you a hit or who killed JFK and why, and just like an overview and so on. Um, and they take you back to Lee Harvey Oswald's upbringing.
Hmm.
Lee Harvey Oswald was an orphan and
Wow.
raised in a questionable New York City orphanage.
Hmm.
Lee Harvey Oswald was recruited into the military
Hmm.
by the U.S. government and, in fact, the intelligence wing of Army intelligence. Lee Harvey Oswald was sent to Tokyo to do intelligence analysis for the same wing of the Army Air Force that flew the YouTube spy planes.
Hmm.
He was often found as a regular in this officers' club where a simple round of drinks would have cost him his entire week's pay for the level of Army officer that he was. In
Hmm.
fact, he wasn't an officer. He had no business being there in the first place,
Hmm.
but could afford to do it.
Gotcha.
Who do you think is paying for that?
Gotcha. I think I see where this is going.
He was an intelligence officer for the U.S. government his entire adult life.
Hmm.
And I mean, think about it. In the whatever it was, yeah, mid to late 50s, he renounces his U.S. citizenship publicly, flies off from Mexico to the Soviet Union, gets turned down. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
They turned him away. But somehow finagles his way to stay in the Soviet Union, where he marries, or where he meets and marries Marina, who's still alive,
Hmm.
and comes back, lands in New Jersey, and his CIA handler, who of course doesn't wear a name tag, says, "Hi, welcome to the CIA," meets him in New Jersey and says, "Hey, how the hell you doing? Welcome
Hmm.
back." Never says, "Who the hell do you think you are?" renouncing your citizenship, then waltzing right back in at one of the busiest ports in the world.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
And he's immediately sent to work doing, various odd jobs for the U.S. government. It was also that the other two things that were mathematically proven, one were essentially the two reasons why he was not the shooter on the sixth floor. One, he couldn't make that shot in the first place. All his army buddies, or actually, sorry, Marines. He was in the Marines. All his Marine buddies said he was one of the worst shots they've ever seen. FBI sharpshooters tried to make the same shot that he made, and they couldn't do it. So that proves that if this is not a possible shot, somebody else had to have been there to shoot. The other reason why it couldn't have been him on the sixth floor was because he wasn't there. The mathematics behind him having to have come down from the sixth floor
Mm-hmm.
to the second floor staff lounge, where he was seen by two people having a Coke and eating a sandwich, would not have been sufficient for him to have run down the stairs, calmed down from having just shot the president of the United States, and run down 4 flights of stairs after having done so, to be sitting there in the relaxed mode that he was, drinking his Coke and eating a sandwich. One of those two people was a decorated decorated Dallas police officer. And without getting into the weeds too far with it's just, as crime dramas and such go. If you like to kind of like follow along and really do like a whodunit type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
they've both. Rob Reiner has made pretty much a life hobby of researching the Kennedy assassination, and for good reason. Um, that look
Should
at
I
what.
be asking his conclusion? Does he give one?
Um, Kind of, sorta, but I don't think you need it because it's pretty obvious. I mean, they give factual accounts of witness testimony. The fact that the initial notes from the autopsy were burned in the doctor's fireplace.
Hmm.
Nothing consistent with bullet wounds from the back, or not consistent with the story of the sixth floor uh, book depository,
That
especially with the
would
headshot.
that would um, verify blood spatter and all those kinds of things that
Yeah,
the
they
direction
they
of.
saw the one of the things that I kind of wished was the same during my career as it was then, Though they did criminal investigations from the very beginning, once Secret Service picked up protection with Teddy Roosevelt and carried it through the 20th century, that was, and it still is kind of the big thing, but it was the big thing. Like they sent you there because that's where they needed manpower, that's where they needed bodies. They didn't have job fairs to recruit from. They didn't have the internet to recruit from. So they got a lot of military. They got a lot of police officers, young police officers they worked with on visits and whatever, and they needed bodies. So a lot of them went right to presidential protection.
Mm-hmm.
A gentleman that helped me get into the Secret Service just passed away back in 2019, was the site agent for the motorcade. Had he not been shot, they were driving to the place my friend Sam was at, waiting for them.
Mm-hmm.
He was best friends with Clint Hill, who was the agent that crawled up in the back of the limousine.
Wow.
But one of the things this podcast uncovers is they talked to another one of the agents that was in the follow-up car that day, who was, ducking, he was moving his head quickly side to side to duck brain splatter from the shots, much of which got on him.
Mm-hmm.
And he is the one that actually found what has been known as the magic bullet. The bullet that was found on the gurney in the hospital, he admits he put there because he found it in the back of the limo.
Oh, okay.
Now, I still am calling bullshit on some levels because it's still pristine. It could not have been fired.
Gotcha.
It would not. There's no way that the only way you fire that bullet, it's still going to have burn marks on it because of the heat.
Yeah.
And it's still going to have scrapes on it from the inside of the rifle barrel.
Yeah.
That's how you determine what weapon fired what bullet. Is when you retrieve a bullet from a crime scene, you look for those scrapes.
Yeah.
And if
I've
you have a
watched enough
suspected
CSI.
weapon,
Yeah.
yeah.
To
So
watch
you
to
and this
recognize that.
bullet is so pristine, it would not have been found in the back seat of the limo where he found it if it was actually shot. So I think there's something with him going on there. Because if that bullet was fired, it would be like it was fired from ballistic gelatin into the what
Gotcha.
catches a bullet.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it definitely a fascinating, very well done. Even if you find, excuse me, even if you find fault with some of the things that they present, there is beyond enough to go, Lee Harvey Oswald had nothing to do with this, at least not from that side of the criminal spectrum. This is a trained, experienced intelligence officer. They knew, they showed that he knew something was going on that day. He just didn't know what. Now he hears everything that is happening. You think a guy like this is just going to go take in a movie?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I got nothing better to do. Might as well see what's going to be on the next Oscar list.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to that theater to meet his contact because witnesses from that theater said he would sit down aside of them, and we have what are called challenge words.
Yes.
Like if I sit down with you and I say, "Would you like a Budweiser?"
Mm-hmm.
You would say, "I'd like a 6-pack." And if you say 6-pack, if that's the other word, that's the response, then I know you're on my team.
I understand.
If you look at me like, "Who the hell are you?"
Yeah.
I got the wrong one.
Yeah.
And he did that to multiple people before he found this young guy who actually appeared to be his contact.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't. And he gets up and goes, tells the manager, and that's how the police get him.
Wow.
And he's like, what the hell are they come for me for? Because he's thinking he's the good guy.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Yes, I will have to go back and listen
On
to this
top of that,
podcast.
this whole line of events, the book depository, the murder of Officer J.D. Tippit, the movie theater, was on the line of what was then the largest and fastest moving bus line in the country.
Hmm.
If he just shot the president, why is he just not getting on a bus and becoming a fart in the wind?
Mm-hmm.
He goes to a movie theater. And so, very interesting, very well done. Like I said, even if there's some things that you find fault with and say,
There's
that's
enough.
bullshit,
Yeah.
there's plenty to say there's something going on here. The other one was called The Whistleblowers. And that's less crime, although it is. It's more politics. That's about the Trump administration. And it's a series of
And
like
that's a
8 or
podcast
10
too?
episodes. Correct.
Okay.
Um,
Well, that gives me,
yeah, crime related, and that it's Trump oriented.
yeah.
But that's also, firsthand accounts. I was there. It
Wow.
was me that they were surveilling. It was me that they were chasing. It was me that they were driving out of the government, that kind of thing. There's some people who went
Wow.
to jail for what they did.
Wow.
So, yeah, both too interesting. I don't know what the rest of your personal schedule's like and when you get to listen or watch something like that, but put it on the list.
Will do.
Give your give your eyes a rest and exercise your ears instead.
Will do. Will do. So they're audio podcast as opposed to video, both of them?
Yeah, yeah. They're audio only, and they're available
Okay.
on Spotify, which I know is one of the things that
Okay.
you're
Well,
pretty good.
that's
So
great. And what an interesting way to segue from the Oscars, which is pablum for the masses, and something a little bit more serious in the drama department. How's that?
oh, believe me, some of the gays I know that watch the Oscars, that's serious drama, and they take this very seriously.
Very good. Well, I think our episode here has reached a conclusion. So let's sign off for now, shall we? I'm
Absolutely.
Jane Stahl. I'm Jane Stahl.
And I'm Yergz.
And this is, here we go again, both sides now. There.
Sides now. Not bad. All right, everybody. Okay.
That was good. That
Do
was
you have
really
anything for today?
interesting. That was really
Yeah.
interesting. A little light and a little heavy. So
Yeah.
that's
I
good.
knew
A
that we had talked
lot
about
of
that
substance.
before. I didn't know.
I know, but
Yeah.
you gave some really good details, I think, this time that make it a compelling
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
thing to listen to. So I need to get on the horn and listen to those kinds of things. There's so much to do. I'm never bored. How's that?
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
You know, that's for sure. That's for sure. Okay, I'm going to take those notes with me for later to remind myself to watch those. Okay, I had seen Rob Reiner on, I don't know, different shows promoting that series, so I was a little bit
Yeah.
aware of it. But and I really respect him, so I can remember thinking to myself, "This is something I need to investigate," but I'm not sure I want to know what he's trying to tell me. I can remember thinking that.
Um,
So
uh, Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I think it's also a level of you know it already.
Well,
You,
yeah, kind of.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's you're besides the drama details that you would be interested in. Are you really going to learn something that you don't already suspect?
I
I mean,
guess.
look at what Oliver Stone did with JFK.
Oh,
I'm presuming
yes,
you've seen that by now.
I am familiar with
Um,
that. Yeah.
so, I
Yep.
mean, really, if you've got enough of the uh, enough of the conspiracy theory that he puts out in that,
Hmm.
this is the
Yeah.
same information. It's just taking a
Packaged
lot more
differently.
time to better prove.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
2 hour movie; it's a 2 month podcast.
Yeah. 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 And then, I mean, well, the whole Jack Ruby, Bobby Kennedy,
I was just
Martin
going to
Luther
mention him
King, all
when
those.
there
I
was a
mean,
press conference. Yeah, there was a press conference where Lee Harvey Oswald still didn't know what was going on.
mm-hmm,
And he's saying, you know, I would request that somebody come forward and become my attorney. I don't know what I'm being charged with other than shooting a policeman. Uh, and they mentioned something of the Cuba movement, the pro or anti
mm-hmm,
Castro. Lee Harvey Oswald was intentionally playing both sides because that
mm-hmm,
was how he was developing a cover.
mm-hmm,
Um, and they were in the process of creating what's called a false flag.
mm-hmm.
You know,
I
for
hear you.
example,
Yep.
uh, I forget the sinking of the Maine in Guantanamo Bay back in the late 1800s was
Mm-hmm,
actually done by the U.S. government. And what happened was that got back to the U.S. and got in the newspapers and pissed everybody off. And so
mm-hmm,
now we've got legitimate reason to go to war with Spain.
mm-hmm,
Meanwhile, Spain's sitting back in Europe going, "What the hell is this all about?" They didn't know. They
mm-hmm,
didn't know what we were talking. They legitimately didn't do it.
mm-hmm,
So they were setting this false flag operation to help develop Lee Harvey Oswald's cover. And
mm-hmm,
that's the fight that you hear about that was in the middle of the street in New Orleans. Oddly enough, videotaped
mm-hmm,
in the 60s.
mm-hmm.
It's not like somebody had their iPhone.
Yeah, for
Somebody knew it was
sure.
going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah, it's
yeah, it's
crazy.
just,
It's just crazy. The world is crazy. The world is crazy.
yep.
So,
So after this, that's why I'm going to go back to editing the schedule for positive talk in a negative world.
positive talk in a negative world. Oh yeah, tell me a little bit. Is anything going on in Tampa or in Atlanta relative to terrestrial radio? How's that
Yeah,
going for
I have
you?
to. I'm trying to reach out to this company that's down here in southern Florida, south of me, that has a software, kind of like Restream, like what we're doing now, but for
Mm-hmm.
radio stations, and is a lot more robust. That it has other functions that it can provide that for like marketing and things of that nature. And
Mm-hmm.
both the Atlanta and the DC, both the Atlanta and the
Tampa.
Tampa Bay stations use it.
Oh,
So
okay.
it would make going live at each station much easier.
Yeah.
And again, this past Friday, the guy that sits on the board for us in Tampa was late. We didn't get on the air in Tampa till like 10 after 12,
Oh boy.
and that's time I'm paying for.
Mm-hmm.
So they let us go a little later. I couldn't go much later anyway because we all had different things scheduled for the rest of the afternoon. But he got his tit in a ringer with the manager, and when
Mm-hmm.
she emailed me to apologize for it, he was actually CC'd on it. Um, basically telling me that his bullshit story for the reason why he was late wasn't true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she said, we're going to use this software and kind of eliminate him from the process.
Gotcha.
And it's, I don't want to eliminate him altogether because he's a Trump supporter. And there's going
Okay.
to be times where our conservative guy who's not a Trump supporter is going to be absent.
Yep.
So he might be a good substitute for that.
Yep.
But uh, yeah, we'll see.
Do you sleep?
Yeah, apparently a couple of times I've found myself taking naps on the sofa with Matrix. And
Mm.
oddly enough, over the weekend, each one of them happened at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night,
Mm-hmm.
which totally screwed up my
Mm-hmm.
somewhat normal sleep schedule.
Yeah.
And
You've got a
yeah,
lot going on. I look forward to, yeah. Yeah. It would be good to, yeah. I hope you get some.
I don't know if I told you 2 weeks ago the Be Inspired episode on the Atlanta station got screwed up. When I
Yeah, you told
uploaded
me.
it, it was only a 30-minute episode with Randy.
Yeah. Yeah, you told
Laura
me.
was not on it.
Yeah.
That reran this past weekend.
Okay.
Laura was in the first half of it, and Randy was the second half. And so
Good.
they've been reusing it in areas where I think they're short. They've
Okay.
been replaying stuff, which I'm not gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Not
not like
gonna
I'm
argue
getting
with that.
additional
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like they're replaying commercials that I should be getting more money for. I'm not
Yeah.
worried about that. I'm still getting more exposure for my stuff. So if
Right.
you hit that website randomly, you might hear it. You know what's going
Yeah.
out over Atlanta, and I'm actually going to start taking a small ad space in the gay magazine in Atlanta, like the gay
Okay.
newspaper, um, and promote. You know that we've got X number of shows
Good.
running on that station.
Good. Sounds good.
So yeah, it's growing. It's all growing.
That's good. That's
Um,
good. That's good.
yeah.
That's good.
Oh wow.
Shall we call it a
What
day?
do we have anything else? Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, is that because we got enough in the can? We got this one, um, and we're coming up on 1 o'clock anyway, so
Right.
it's not like
Well, let's
we're
call it a
usually
day
in by like 1 1.
now, and then I maybe will be able to get my act together a little bit better with what I want to talk about relative to the screw tape letters. I mean, I can talk
Oh,
about it, but I can also come back to it. Okay.
yeah, you know what? Yeah, because I got to take this call. It's coming in anyway.